Apparently we have accepted that quest. Okay, she's just there. This one too, right? And then we have Sere. We have some other zombies. It's a container. Empty. Oh, these bubbling tanks are dispensing their contents into wooden kegs. There is a faint smell of vinegar in the air. Heard the mortuary keeps displacing bodies. Hello, zombie worker. This female corpse is dressed in a heavy burlap shirt covered with food and wine stains. Her lips have been stitched closed. She's exactly like this one.
You know, I really like the way the grave mold highlights your cheekbones.
Yeah, I suppose. Who are you? You're generic too, right? Sere? As you approach, the elderly woman turns and stares at you. La! Look who's come a-calling on Sere today. That's dearest son. She looks you up and down and shakes her head in disbelief. By every power and its mother, boy. What crypt did you crawl out of? Ah. Yeah, saying that. This is so bad. Well, the crypt was losing its charm, so now I'm looking around for the right place to die. Know of anywhere? She barks a laugh that rattles your ears. Not here, unless you want to die of boredom. Yeah, I see. What's wrong here? Someone pinch your sense and your sight, boy? She waves her hand around the bar. Look around. What do your eyes tell you? Well, a bunch of fun-loving dustmen, drinking happily and conversing merrily, celebrating life to its fullest. Well, I suppose that would be it for them. You've got a clever tongue there, boy. Mayhap your tongue is cleverer than you are. Sarah squints at you, then snorts. That would explain the scars. But it doesn't explain why a dustman is standing here ridiculing other dustmen. Care to answer that one? Are you a dustman? A dustman, I suppose. Sarah sniffs. I've seen enough sand pass through the hourglass while wearing these robes. This body's almost ready to pay the ferryman. She chuckles, but there's not much mirth in it. You afraid of dying? Of course I am, boy. Who isn't? I don't know. Me? No, well, I'm not afraid of that particularly. I'm afraid of torture, I'm afraid of violent death, but not of death. When that comes, you can't do anything about it, so might as well not be afraid of it. But the nameless one here doesn't know what death is. I understand. Okay. She frowns and glances around. Well, except dustmen. They're not afraid because they've been swallowing so much of their own bad droppings over the decades. They've blinded themselves into thinking that is some kind of release. Well, it is a release of a sort. Well, I would think. So what sparked this crisis of faith? Well, it is a release of sort. If you think this life is a burden, boy, then perhaps. Yeah, I'm not convinced of that. So she's probably a happy person. Then I understand why her attitude would be completely different from mine. But what about the nameless one? I don't know. Is the nameless one happy or... Well, he doesn't remember anything, so... No clue about that. So what sparked this crisis of fate? She shrugs. Life, I suppose. She frowns. Never you mind, I won't bore you with the niggling details. Niggling? I don't know that word. I might want to search it later. Well, I'd like to know, actually. Oh, would you? She looks at you skeptically. How old you take me for, boy? Truth? Old? I usually don't lie. She snorts. Well, you're wrong. I'm really old. Now, I've spent most of my long years teaching dustmen. I've seen many dustmen. Whelps grow within our order, taught them the ways of the faction, kept the faith, preached the tenets of the faction, and so on and so on. No questions, no doubt. This life was merely an antechamber that led to the true death. So what happened? Well, a half month back I went sick with the fever. She sighs. I thought it was the end. It rattled my cage. How? Her face becomes a stone. There's something about having your faction members circle around your deathbed like a pack of pale-faced cows, nodding and agreeing that your suffering and dying is all for the best. Oh, Sarah is so fortunate. She shall soon be relieved of the burden of life. Burden of life. That's when it struck me. That there's something. A queer expression comes over her features. Adult about not appreciating your life. The dustman keeps saying that life is misery and suffering. Is it? That we should be happy to pass on into oblivion, should we? She shakes her head, questions, and precious few answers. But the answer is very simple, really. It's personal and subjective. I would say that death is the end to suffering, and I would say that life is a burden, but if you're happy and you have everything you want from life, then your answer is completely different. Maybe you joined the wrong faction. It doesn't sound like you believe in the Dustman philosophy anymore. I suppose I have got a swarm of doubts all buzzing in my skull. She rubs her temples. Hard to get them all to be quiet sometimes. They need to be fed some answers, and I haven't got them all worked out yet. What will you do? To be square, boy, I don't know. Sarah sighs. That's the problem with doubt. I can't even trust that what I'm feeling is true, or if I'm scared of death only because of my brush with the fever, or even what I should do. Is this a passing thing? I don't know. Well, Sarah, if you had truly believed in the Dustman philosophy, then your brush with the fever would not have left you with such doubts. Sarah stares at you, then nods slowly. Maybe so, maybe so. She frowns, her face wrinkling up in concentration. I'll have to chew it over some more. Well, that's all I ask. Look, can I ask you something? Questions, eh? Well, you can ask. Sarah looks at you with a steely eye, then smiles. Crypt crawler. Have you seen a journal recently? I'm missing mine. What does it look like? No idea. If you don't know what it looks like, how do you expect to find it? Yeah, I'm beginning to wonder that myself. Okay, I didn't crawl out of any crypt, come on. She frowns, her face wrinkling like cramped parchment. Right then. What coffin did you crawl out of? She mumbles. One of those shoddy splint coffins at Hamry's, most like. Gives corpses splinters, I hear. She sniffs. That boy's not been worth a clipped copper since his father died. Well, I didn't crawl out of a coffin either. She smiles, revealing a row of uneven teeth. All right, boy, what sarcophagus did you crawl out of? She stops and chuckles to herself. Just ribbing you, boy, no harm meant. You do look like that's own, though. You look like that's own, though. Who is that Hamris you mentioned? Well, it's somebody that makes coffins. Hamris is a coffin maker in the lower world. Inherited the shop when his father died, much to the shame of every corpse needing a coffin, crypt, or tombstone in sigil. What happened to the father? Well, he died? I don't know. Those years just for show, boy. He died. His son talked him to death, most likely. That boy's tongue doesn't stop rattling. I'm surprised he doesn't shake his head loose from his shoulders. Sounds like somebody you want to talk to. You two sounds like you have a lot in common then. I don't know. She's talkative, but so what? We are in a bar. Okay, well, we are in a Dustman bar, okay. Well, it doesn't sound like I'd like to be buried in one of his coffins then. Can you recommend anywhere else I could lie down and die? She barks a laugh that rattles your ears. Not here. Okay. She's looping. I'm searching for a man named Farod. Sarah's face crumples into a frown. That dog is the worst of the collector lot. I heard he has his keep set up somewhere in Ragpicker's Square, many streets west of the mortuary gate. Dangerous place, though. Some of those collectors aren't patient enough to wait for folks to die, so they can sell them for jink. They're vermin that scavenge the bowels of the hive for bodies to sell to the dustmen, make a living off the dead. A motley breed, makes you ashamed to share the same city with them. Well, they give you bodies that you don't seem to be willing to go around to pick up, right? She sighs. At least they help keep the street clean. Yeah, I would say that. I wanted to ask you about some of the dustmen in particular. No harm in it. What's on your mind? Tell me about Emoric. That stone-faced old fool. I sought him, you know, and I used to hold the man in high regard. Then I woke up. He's a crusty old ghoul that sits here in his off hours to make sure the younger dustmen have a symbol of authority here in this bar. She mumbles, old vulture. What about all the copper eyes? Don't know much about that one. He's a strange blood. He never moves from that spot, never eats, never drinks, just waits. Makes me uneasy. But how does he survive then? Actually, I met a scribe named Dole at the mortuary. Do you know him? Well, isn't this implying that I was in the mortuary? Dole, he was my instructor in the philosophical arts during my early training at the mortuary, and a crusty fool to boot. He's ill, so my ears tell me. I bet he'll even bore that with his presence. Is he dying? Sicker than a spot dog, he is. Not much sand left in the hourglass for him. Well, he told that much to us himself. One of the embalmers in the mortuary, Avin, do you know her? Who? Well, a strange young woman, poor eyesight near death, talons for hands. Sarah shakes her head. Maybe she's a new initiate. I've never heard of her. Very well. Thank you for the talk, I suppose. You? Did I ask you? Okay, so we have this guy as well. Nah, I don't remember which one I asked. Wait, is it you? You are calling me? No, it's this one then. Gravesend. This tiny wizened man is dwarfed by his huge dustman robes. They look as if they were chosen to cloak his small stature. Although he looks to be in his late 90s, this man is extremely energetic. He fidgets continuously and his eyes dart around the bar like a bird's. Greetings? The man's eyes gleam as he takes your measure and he gives a slight nod in greeting. Hail and well met, traveler. You look like one who is just getting their sigil legs about them. He trails off. Pardon me, have we met before? Your face seems familiar somehow. Possibly. Are you certain it was me? Maybe I was mistaken. Mortai shakes his head. Well, no matter. How is it that Mortai Gravesend may help you? Do you seek... He clucks his tongue as he speaks. The contract, perhaps? Contract? Let's see if we can learn more about the contracts. The contract, white, is but a simple transaction. From the depths of his huge robe, Mortai pulls forth a dusty parchment and a quill pen. I give you 50 commons. In return, after that, the Dustman faction may claim your remains. He smiles, then clucks his tongue. What use will you have for them at that point, anyway? 50 coppers is not that much. I don't know yet if it's much. I just don't think it is. What do you do with the body? Mortai holds up his hands as if he doesn't know. What does it matter? It is of no consequence when you pass on. I agree, but I'm curious. Matters to me. Well, if you must know oft times nothing is done with the body, and it is we, the dustmen, who have wasted all the money. More fools us. Mortai gives... Yeah, I have an issue with you wasting your money. Mortai gives a light smile and looks apologetic. But rarely, there are times when the workers in the mortuary need to be replaced, and then we may have a need for your body. That's extremely... what's the word? Unpractical. Because bodies are not reliable, and if you get, they decay, and if you get a body that's really in a bad shape, you already paid for it? It's illogical. And for what? Because you have free workers, but then you pay for everything else. You have free workers for a while. Yeah, I don't get it. I guess it's just their philosophy. It's what they do. Maybe they are colluded with the collectors. Maybe some of them are colluding with the collectors, and maybe there is, some, not recycling of money, but there is money going in and out, and the system is a little bit shady. You mean I'll be animated as a corpse and put it to work into the mortuary? That doesn't sound good. Well, you wouldn't be realizing it, but no harm is done, no pain. Mortai raises a finger as if to emphasize the point. And there is no danger in exchange for money you can spend in this life. You merely have to give us something you will have no need of anyway once you have died. Mortai taps his chest. I signed the contract myself, if you must know. I shall have no need of my body when I pass on. Don't know, it is subjective again. But you can choose to have this, to sign this contract. But not all the bodies that get into the mortuary have signed this contract, so they need to be buried. But the ones who have signed the contract, they can be used. It would be interesting if the zombies were not in fact dead. Maybe, I don't know how they're raising them. Well, with necromantic hearts. I don't know, maybe they put souls into them. I don't know yet how it works here. But that would be problematic. Depends on each little variable. I do not have enough information. Well, I'll consider it. For now, I have some other questions. The journal, Farod, and the patrons, and Angiar. Are you the one who signed that dead contract with Angiar? Murtai frowns. He looks puzzled. Mayhap, he thinks for a moment. I do not recall the name, however. What does settle the contract mean? Do you have that contract with you? Murtai frowns, then looks into the folds of his robes. I do not normally keep the documents with me, but it may be that. Murtai pulls forth a sheaf of papers from within his robes and begins leafing through documents. No, I don't have it on me. Would you like me to fetch it from one of the back rooms? Well, not really, but I would like to cancel that contract. Murtai looks wary. I'm afraid that is impossible. The contract is signed, settled and binding. Wow. Answers. The truth. I suggest you hand over the contract. I don't know. Let's try with something less aggressive to begin with. The contract is tearing the man's life apart. It is causing him distress. It is possible that he may not even be able to approach the true death, with such emotions churning in his mind. Show more? What does show more mean? Did I have more options? Murtai chews it over for a moment. Looks like you've negotiated him into a corner. Really? I cannot. It is a matter of law, my friend. Besides, the burden lies upon the signer to overcome his own feelings in order to reach the true death. I cannot... So you're saying... I don't... What is show more? I'm afraid... Oh my god. Oh, it was just... Okay. Alright, I have to remember clicking on that show more. So what you're saying is that you deny him the true death for the sake of a piece of parchment? I mean, it's the true death, it's the first tenet of your order, friend. Murtai sighs and holds up his hands as if to placate you. Look, it is not how you're making it out to be. You obviously hold the philosophy of the dustman in contempt. To damn a man's soul over a piece of paper. Do other members of your faction know of your conduct in this regard? If not, they will soon. They soon will. Murtai glares at you for a moment, opens his mouth, closes it, then opens it. By the nine hells, wait here. He drops his voice to a whisper, and keep your bone box latched. He gives an angry scowl and stomps off. A few seconds later he returns. He's holding a dusty piece of parchment, which he gives to you. Here, he sniffed disdainfully. All for a man's peace of mind. Now be gone and nettle me with your preachings no longer. Yeah, thank you, bye. So, we got some quests. Wait, Murtai, can I ask you some more things? Ha! Murtai frowns as you approach, clucking his tongue. You again. You come to make me surrender more contracts in the name of the Dustman faction. Well, no matter, it's in the past. He regains his old smile and nods at you. What is it I may do for you? Have you seen a journal? Murtai shakes his head. I know nothing about a journal. He smiles. I deal with documentation of a much different sort. What about Farod? Murtai frowns. He's one of those collectors, isn't he? I know little of him. I think Initiate Emoric mentioned him in passing. Murtai glances around. Emoric should be around here in the bar somewhere. He can usually be found in the far corner at the end of the table, I believe. Yeah, okay. Initiate Emoric. No. A respected initiate of the fourth circle, a very wise man. Mortai studies you, slightly worried. What is your business with him? May I ask? Perhaps I can help you instead? Lie? Well, I was thinking about signing a contract with Emoric. Wow, that might lead to something. Well, not really. Of course, Mortai nods. It would be my pleasure to answer any questions you may have. Tell me about some of the patrons here. Which of the patrons do you wish to know about? What about Sere? A troubled initiate. I heard she contracted a sickness not long ago and it changed her. Now she seems bitter and angry and she does not speak the Dustman believes with the conviction she once did. I fear that bitterness is a passion that could jeopardize her position within the faction. Are Dustmen not allowed to feel passions? Well, not really. Or not technically. Oh my, yes. Mortai frowns. Too much passion, too much emotion prevents one from reaching the true death. To be passionate runs contrary to the philosophy of our faction. The peaceful oblivion. Anything that ties a soul to this life is shunned by our faction. Whether these ties are possessions or emotions. You see, passions act as an anchor on the soul, preventing it from reaching the true death. Possessions as well. That's interesting. What about old Copper Eyes? Mortai's eyes go cold. The one with eyes of copper. His eyes speak enough about his purpose here. He makes a semicircle over his heart. A member of the Dustmen he may be, but I would never sign a dead contract with him. Copper is his soul, and to me that speaks of an excess of passion for money. Oh, he's a Dustman in name only. You mean I could sign a dead contract with him? Yes, but it's much better that you sign with me rather than that greedy monster. So, contracts are nominal? Yeah, of course they're nominal. It's your contract. But each Dustman keeps the money of the contracts. Because I thought that you sign with one and you sign with anybody, but apparently you can sign with different people and they will offer different contracts or different fees or something like that. Deal with me instead. Greed is the passion that kills, you know, and to a Dustman it is twice as deadly. Huh. Well, I see. I don't think... Well, Mortai nods as you turn to leave. He has a strange expression on his face. There's something wrong? Mortai frowns. Forgive me, I must ask again. Are you sure we haven't met before? Possibly, I do not recall you. Mortai shakes his head. Well, no matter. Farewell. Yes, farewell, farewell. Mortai studies you as you leave, and you hear him mutter under his breath. Something about that one. Oh well, let's move on. We've been in there long enough. I'm going to go directly to Angyar. What's his name? Do we have the contract? This crisp parchment has a musty smell about it, like it has been stored in an attic for too long. From what you can make out from the tiny cramped writing, this document seems to be a contract between two parties. Dustman faction and the Dustman faction now, and a man named Angyar. So the different Dustmen do they get commissions for how many contracts they manage to sign? A man named Angyar in exchange for 30 copper pieces. Anger has signed away the rights to his corpse to the dustman, presumably so that they can use him as a worker in the mortuary. Let's solve this little quest. Should I give it to the wife? Let's talk to the wife first. Anger's wife looks up hopefully as you approach. Were you able? Yes, I was able to get the contract for Mortai. Here it is. She looks relieved and their eyes become misty. Oh, by the powers, you must be a deva in disguise. A deva? Really? In disguise to do such a thing for someone you barely know. Oh no, that's... Give her the contract? I didn't do this for free. I don't know, just give her the contract.
My journal.
Nay, if you could show me husband the contract, say that you got it for him. But don't say how, I'd appreciate it. Really? Wouldn't it be better... Okay, I'll show it to him. You see Anger, he doesn't look any better than before. As you approach him again, he turns slowly to face you. His face tightens. You again. Didn't you hear me the first time, you pox-ridden dog? Get out of me house, or so help the powers. I'll carve you where you stand. Well, let's show him the Dustman contract. As you pull out the contract, the blood drains out of Anger's face. For a moment he seems at a loss for words, then his temper quickly resurfaces. Where did you get that? By the powers, you best tell me. I'm tempted to tear it up. Let's try.
Updated my journal.
You tear up the parchment and Anger's eyes follow the bits of paper as they float to the ground with a desperate look. He shudders slightly, then straightens as if a great weight was lifted from him. He looks like he's about to thank you, then stops and stares at you suspiciously. Nothing's free, not in the hive cutter. Oh God, this is an awful answer. I might need a favor in the future. Could you help me? I ransomed my life to one man already, and I'm not about to do that again. We'll settle the debt now. Okay? Very well, if you feel the need to pay me, then I could use some questions answered. Anger nods. Ask your questions. Why did you sign that contract? Perhaps it's the sheer amount of riches and wealth that surrounds you that distracted you. He snorts. We have less than nothing, and I needed Jink. Didn't seem to matter too much at the time where it might come from, and selling me body to the Dusties is a lot more honest than most work around here. Oh, well, I see. So this is really a bad place. People don't have regular jobs. What caused you to change your mind? It's jest, he sighs. I saw one of them zombies on the streets a half-month ago. One of them zombies that work for the Dusties, and it stabbed me in my heart. I knew I'd made a mistake. I didn't want to be any part of that after death. Well, he regretted something. We've all had our share of mistakes. Well, I wouldn't know about you, nameless one. I suppose so. Wait, can I tell him? Then you shouldn't have signed the contract? A prickling sensation crawls along the back of your skull as you are about to speak. You suddenly know for a fact that Anger isn't likely to accept your preaching peacefully. Oh wow, the game is not letting me do that? Yeah, I could see that that was not the right answer, but I wanted to try. Some other questions? Have you seen a journal of mine? Anger frowns, then shakes his head. I haven't seen a thing such as that, Cutter. Well, of course. I feel stupid just for asking.